morning, brother. We're here to tell you about the good news.
Yeah, okay, but my news first. See, I am dating this 22-year-old woman.
Do you remember 2.5 Men? The one with the funny kid who always said the wrong thing, the rich uncle and the broke dad? For years, it made a lot of people laugh. But guess what? The cast and the first show came out more than 2 years ago. A lot has changed. Some look like they aren't real. A few stopped playing. Some people's lives took crazy turns. We're going to see what they look like right now, and I promise you won't believe it. Let's go. Charlie Sheen, Charlie Harper. Charlie Sheen was a TV star of the past. It's hard to believe that he made an incredible $1.8 million for every episode of 2.5 Men in 2009. And to be honest, it made sense. He played Charlie Harper, a rich, slow-moving bachelor who drank too much, went on too many dates, and didn't care about anything. What's the twist? What that figure looked like was a lot like Charlie Sheen in real life. He was funny, talked quickly, and always got the point across. His natural skill was to turn a simple line into something that people would never forget. People really liked him, and the show did really well. Everything looked good for a while, but even though things were going well, trouble was building quickly. Everything fell apart in 2011. Sheen was fired from the show because he had a fight with Chuck Lorre, who created the show. The damage wasn't quiet. It made headlines all over the world. Sheen was no longer famous for his acting. Instead, he was famous for his crazy rants, strange interviews, and weird catchphrases like tiger blood and winning. While he admitted to abusing illegal substances and losing touch with reality, shocked people watched him go fully crazy. His fall was one of the most well-known in Hollywood history. The actor who used to be the star of primetime TV was now known for making a mess and getting into trouble. Deals on brands went away. There were no more roles. That was it. Charlie Sheen went from being a star to being a living news story. He didn't go away totally, though. Even after all that, things began to get better for him in 2017. He started his sobriety path to get away from the dangerous way of life that almost ended him. Fans were shocked when he worked with Chuck Lorre again that same year on a new show called Bookie. It was a small sign that maybe he could heal after all. He also did a short stint on the show Anger Management, which made him feel like himself again. Early on, it had the most watchers ever, but the momentum didn't last. Sheen stayed out of trouble and out of sight as the attention faded. Charlie Sheen is 59 years old now, in 2025. It's been a long time. He looks different, greater, not as fast. At times, he still has the sharpness that made him such a star, but it's not always there. He's trying to clear his name and keep things quiet because he has 4 kids. No longer is he in the middle of Hollywood, but he hasn't completely let go either. Charlie Sheen's story isn't just about getting old slowly. It's about what happens when personal problems, fame, and stress all come together. He had everything going for him until he lost it all. He is still trying to find his way back. There is still a smile, but the storm behind it has changed everything. John Crier, Alan Harper. In the news, Charlie Sheen was having a bad time, but John Crier kept showing up, year after year, episode after episode. Alan Harper was the lucky and awkward brother who always found a way to crash on someone else's couch. He played the same sad sack of a man for 12 years in a row, and while the character never really won in the show, Crier kind of did. He wasn't just a background helper. It was him who made 2.5 Men feel good. Alan stayed after Charlie left. People in the group came and went, but Alan stayed. Even when things went wrong, Crier was the one thing that kept the show together, and people noticed how consistent they were. 2 Emmys were given to him, one for supporting actor and one for lead actor. This is a very rare accomplishment for a show like his, but what's crazy is that Crier was known to a lot of people before he became Alan. His dad was an actor, and his mom wrote plays. so he grew up around artists. By the mid-1980s, he had already made a name for himself in Pretty in Pink. It was always cool to be a geek, but 2.5 Men took it to a whole new level. He didn't go away when the show was over. He also didn't blow up. He didn't say anything. He just kept working. He has stayed in the game with parts in Supergirl, The Ranch, and now the NBC comedy Extended Family. He's not interested in tabloids. He's not after fame. He only does things. In real life, he's nothing like Alan at all. He is happily married to Lisa Joyner, has 2 kids, and doesn't have any problems in his life. In spite of being 59 years old, the man is still doing what he loves. His hair is thinner, and his face looks older and more tired. He must be doing something right, because he has a net worth of $70 million. Others faded, cracked, or went away totally. But John Crier stayed. He made it through the chaos. He just had to stay alive. He didn't have to be the biggest or the flashiest. He did it. That being said, while Crier found security, the youngest cast member went from being America's favorite kid to not being there at all. Now we move to Angus T Jones. Angus T Jones, Jake Harper. What Angus T Jones had was something that most kids could only dream of. Jake Harper on 2.5 Men was his first job. He was only 10 years old. Fans loved him because he was silly, lazy, and always hungry. Just being himself made them laugh. I loved him so much because he wasn't trying too hard. He was just himself. Angus grew along with the show as it became more and more famous. People watched as Jake went from being a cute kid to an awkward teen season after season. By the time Angus was 17, he was making $410,000 per show. At the time, that made him the best-paid kid actor on TV. The money was crazy, even more famous. But something wasn't right behind the scenes. The world thought Jake was great at making jokes, but Angus didn't like where the show was going. As he aged, the humor became more at odds with his growing views. He was quiet for a while, then spoke up. Angus shocked everyone in 2012 when he spoke out against the show that made him famous. His video for the religious group Forerunner Chronicles was very rude. He called 2.5 Men filth and begged people to stop watching it. It wasn't an easy exit. It was a direct rejection of Hollywood as a whole, not just the show. He then left. There won't be any news tours, not any new jobs, just left. Angus didn't try to get more parts. He went in a totally different direction. He became very religious, focused on his religion, and began doing good things for other people. He backed causes like programs to stop bullying, protect children, and raise money for children's hospitals. He only came back to the show once, for a short time in the last episode in 2015, but it felt like the last goodbye. He is 32 years old now and almost unrecognizable. He now has glasses and a beard, and he stays away from the cameras. He's been seen a few times at charity events, but there are no signs that he's going back to acting. And that's the way he wants it. All of the fame, attention, and money are now behind him. He didn't fall. He didn't go down. He left without saying anything. But when he did that, he became one of the most surprising people to disappear on TV ever. He went from being the star of one of the most popular shows to living like any other guy. The change wasn't loud, but it was complete. While Jake quietly disappeared, the actress who played his mean, cold mom went in a totally different direction, which helped her career and showed that even minor roles can steal the show. Marin Hinkle, Judith Harper. Judith was never the funniest. She was Alan's ex-wife, Jake's strict mother, and the reason why most scenes began with a fight. In her role as her, Marin Hinkle gave her a cold, sharp energy that always made things feel good. She wasn't as crazy as the others, but she added balance and just the right amount of drama to keep the show real. Marin did something that many supporting characters can't. She stood out without trying too hard. Charlie, Alan, and Jake got most of the attention. But she really won after the show was over. Most of the cast either faded, broke up, or vanished. But Marin quietly got better. She got a big part in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel as Rose Weissman, a stylish, strong-willed mother who shows a lot more feeling than most moms. She was nominated for 2 Emmys in a row for her performance, which got her a lot of attention and finally put her name in big league talks. She didn't stop there either. She showed up in the movies Madam Secretary, Welcome to the Jungle, Homeland, and Speechless. She showed over and over again that she could play very different parts and still do a great job. Silence. Not a problem. Just being steady wins. At home, her life is anything but chaotic, like it is on show. Randy Summer, a theater director and lawyer, is her husband. They've lived in the $3 million house in Cheviot Hills since 2009 and love it. No news stories. Not a story. Peace only. Marin Hinkle is still working, is still recognized, and is still getting better at what she does at age 59. To stay famous, she didn't need a big moment or a public meltdown. All she needed was ability, timing, and patience. While she may have begun as a minor character, she is now one of the few who got better after the titles rolled. But while Marin rose in quiet, the show's loudest, bravest, and most brutally honest woman left a mark that could not be erased by death. Kata Ferrell, Berta. Berta did more than clean the house. There was nothing she couldn't say with just one line, and she always knew the right time to insult someone. That figure became a fan favorite thanks to Kata Ferrell, who was never the main character. She was the best at being blunt, and all she had to do was look at someone to make them laugh. You'll never forget the time Berta walked into a scene. She was only a secondary character, but she felt like she was one of the main 3. It worked because of when she did it, how she did it, and how she treated Charlie and Alan like they were 2 big kids. She was nominated for 2 Emmys for the part, but I think she deserved more. But Berta was only one part of a long career. Before 2.5 Men came calling, Kata had been acting since the 1970s. She had been in movies like Mystic Pizza and Erin Brockovich, and did well in sitcoms and plays. You can see her in The Ranch, Krampus, and a few other movies that let her show off her range after the show. The attention always seemed to find her, even though she never tried to escape it. She died in 2020 after having symptoms from a heart attack. She was 77 years old. The fact that she was gone made her death even worse. It felt like the end of something bigger. She wasn't just one of the group. She was the chaos's soul. She left her husband, daughter, and a net worth of $10 million behind. But what she really left behind was one of the most beloved characters in the history of sitcoms. Her scenes still get a lot of views. People still quote her. And what she did? It's not faded at all. Kata played more than one role. She was great at that part and made sure you always remembered her name. Berta kept the house together with her attitude and snark, but the kid she helped raise off-screen was going in a completely different direction. By 2025, the kid was growing up quickly, breaking away, and becoming unrecognizable. Holland Taylor, Evelyn Harper. Evelyn Harper was the type of TV mom who didn't warm up with a hug or bake cookies. She called people names while saying nice things about them, and she made passive-aggressive parenting look like a sport. Holland Taylor played her with complete self-assurance, style, and just the right amount of evil. Everything changed when she walked into a scene. It only took one line for her to steal the show. Nothing else was needed. When Holland got the part on 2.5 Men, she wasn't a rising star looking for her big break. She had already worked in Hollywood before. Beginning in the 1960s, she had worked in comedies, dramas, on stage, and in movies. In Legally Blonde, George of the Jungle, and The Practice, she played parts that people will remember. She was always good at getting people's attention, but Evelyn gave her a unique chance to be both feared and admired. Holland lived a bold life outside of movies. In 2020, she made it official that she had been dating actor Sarah Paulson for a long time. They had been together since 2015, but when they told everyone, it broke the internet. People talked a lot about the age difference, but Holland's energy was what really stood out. She didn't try to say anything or explain herself. She lived her life out loud and honestly. She's also a singer and dancer. Holland has spent many years working for important issues. She is on the honorary board of AID for AIDS in Los Angeles and often speaks out at campaign and fundraising events. Some people slow down as they get older, but she's sped up on purpose. Evelyn is still working, even though she is in her 80s. She is still sharp, still busy, and still brings that same fire to the screen that made her famous. At age 82, she's aged just the way you'd expect a woman like her to, with no regrets and full confidence. There are lines on the skin. The power is the same. She doesn't hide behind screens or try to look young. She is completely in charge of her life. That doesn't happen very often in Hollywood, where everyone is looking for the next big thing or ways to stay young forever. Holland picked a different path, one that is real, brave, and all her own. Evelyn Harper was cold on the inside, but the actress who played her has always been brave in all the right ways. She didn't have to scream to be heard. She didn't need drama to stay famous. She shows that getting older doesn't mean losing your beauty. But while she changed what it means to get old in Hollywood, the next man tried to be Charlie. He turned comedy fame into a tech empire, which turned everything on its head. Ashton Kutcher, Walden Schmidt. Most people thought the show was over when Charlie Sheen was fired from 2.5 Men. This changed when Ashton Kutcher showed up. He didn't want to be Charlie. He came in as Walden Schmidt, a tech billionaire who had lost his wife and had way too much money. It was risky, but it worked out. The show kept going for a few more seasons as the ratings went up again. Ashton was already well known before 2.5 Men. His big break came when he played Kelso on That 70s Show. Kelso was a likable idiot with great hair. Then movies like Dude, Where's My Car?, The Butterfly Effect, and No Strings Attached came out. He was lovely and funny, and he always played a guy who was a little lost. One thing that no one saw coming from Ashton Kutcher was his other side. People laughed at Ashton's silly figures, but he was working on something much smarter behind the scenes. He helped start A-Grade Investments, a venture capital company. He didn't just throw money at any project. Instead, he put a lot of it on companies like Airbnb, Spotify, Uber, Shazam, and even SoundCloud that no one thought would become huge. What began as an investment portfolio worth $30 million grew into a $250 million monster. He was no longer just playing. He was a Silicon Valley pro at moving around. Ashton Kutcher was no longer just a Hollywood star. He was a real tech mogul who had better sense than most investors who make a living at it. He gave talks at events, sat on boards for startups, become a face for smart money, and people knew about it. He's been in a lot of news stories about his personal life. In 2005, he married Demi Moore. Their relationship got a lot of attention, both because they were famous and because they were very different ages. In 2013, they got a divorce, but after that, he got back in touch with Mila Kunis, who he worked with on That 70s Show. They spent more time alone after getting married and having 2 children. It was a quiet restart that looked like it would work, but things haven't always gone well. Ashton gave evidence in the murder trial of Michael Gargiulo in 2019. Gargiulo was the person who took Ashley Ellerin's life, a woman Ashton dated for a short time in 2001. Even though the case brought up painful memories, he was calm and clear during the evidence. It was a real-life event that made people realize he wasn't just a famous person, but someone who had been through a lot. Even though he is 47 years old, Ashton Kutcher still acts sometimes, but but most of his power is hidden. He looks a little older, and his face looks a little more tired, but he still has a lot of energy. With a net worth of about $200 million, he went from being a replacement on a sitcom to becoming a startup star in one of the smartest changes in modern famous life. He didn't fall. He didn't get tired. He changed. And while Ashton turned her heartbreak into work, the woman who used to stalk Charlie Harper turned her own twisted character into one of the best TV drama careers, showing that even the weirdest parts can lead to great things. Melanie Linsky, Rose wasn't meant to last. She was Charlie's quiet, nice neighbor who had a one-night stand with him and then never came back. But Melanie Linsky made sure that small part turned into something much bigger and more powerful. Rose went from being weird to being crazed, showing up in windows and breaking into homes while still making you laugh. She wasn't just a follower, she was memorable. Melanie was very good at playing the crazy. She never tried too hard. She made Rose likable in a strange way, even when the character was really scary. Is that balance okay? People remembered it. Charlie may have had 100 wives, but Rose was the one that people remembered the most. Melanie didn't hold on to her sitcom fame after the show stopped, though. She moved forward. That's when things really got bad. Melanie's career went in a very different direction after 2.5 Men. She started playing deeper parts in darker stories and giving more honest performances. She played lead roles in the movies Togetherness, Mrs. America, Yellow Jackets, and Castle Rock. No more background stuff. No more funny sidekicks. She took the lead and smashed it. After 3 Critics' Choice Awards, no one could doubt what she could do. There were hard times in her personal life. She had a problem with how she looked, an eating habit, and she lost her hair because of worry. She could have stayed quiet, but she talked about it. She talked about how she came to accept herself, which gave her fans something real to hold on to. Away from the camera, she was calm. She later got married to actor Jason Ritter after a breakup. They don't make a fuss now that they have a girl. She's also become a friend to the LGBTQ+ community and is respected for both her skill and her voice. Melanie doesn't look anything like she did on 2.5 Men now that she's 47 years old. But that's the point. She's no longer Rose. She's strong and shows that you don't have to stay in the box you started in. The next guy, on the other hand, brought chaos, humor, and wild energy to every scene he touched, making you laugh in ways you didn't see coming. Ryan Stiles, Herb Melnick. Herb Melnick wasn't meant to be very memorable. His name was Judith, and he was her second husband. He was silly, awkward, and always too excited about everything. But Ryan Stiles changed him into something else. You felt sorry for him even though he got caught up in Judith's mess because he was so lovable and weird. He was not clever. He wasn't smooth. He was funny though, which made him stand out. Ryan Stiles was already a funny guy before he was on 2.5 Men. People knew him for how quickly he could make up jokes on Whose Line Is It Anyway? A show where nothing was planned and everyone made up their own jokes. That's where everyone first saw how smart he was. He also played a big part on The Drew Carey Show, a comedy that let him mix crazy and sweet. Maybe Herb didn't know what was going on, but Ryan, he was quick, smart, and unbelievably good at time. Ryan didn't try to get more screen time after 2.5 Men. He took a step back. He did speech work, including a small part as Ted Lasso, but most of his attention was on things that weren't being seen on screen. He spent a lot of time and energy on live comedy and opened the Upfront Theater in Bellingham, Washington. It wasn't about fame anymore, it was about what they loved. That's not all. Ryan has also done a lot of good things for others. He has raised more than $500,000 for the Burned Children Recovery Center since 2009. It was a slow start, but it kept getting bigger. No news stories, don't do any publicity stunts. Just do it. He looks much older now that he's 66. The wild hair is turning grayer. The face looks less rough. But the jokes? Still very sharp. These days, he's not on TV as much, but he's still very much present on stage, at his theater, and in the lives of the people he's helped. He wasn't angry. He didn't fall. He did what he loved over and over again, never making a sound, and with a lot of heart. One cast member brought chaos, big smiles, and major glow-ups, while Ryan faded into quiet and comedy. This shows that sometimes even the silliest characters have the biggest changes. April Bulby, Candy wasn't smart. It wasn't deep. She wasn't hard to understand either, but I will never forget her. The sweet, naive character played by April Bulby became one of the funniest parts of 2.5 Men, even though she was only in a few episodes. She was happy, innocent, and way too excited about everything, which made her perfect for the chaos going on around her. She always lit up the screen, even when she accidentally married Alan or had no idea what was going on. That part could have been the start or end of a career. April, though, wouldn't let that happen. She kept working after 2.5 Men and slowly made something much stronger than anyone thought it would be. She made appearances on How I Met Your Mother and The Big Bang Theory. It wasn't until she got a lead part in Drop Dead Diva that she was able to show she was more than just the pretty one. Then Doom Patrol showed up. That made everything different. April had a darker, more complex side when she was Elastigirl. She played a woman who was caught between being a superhero and having a broken heart, and it worked. Some people paid attention. Fans looked up to her. She wasn't just comic relief anymore. She was getting a lot of TV time. Away from the camera, she's been just as normal. In 2022, April got married and had her first child. She didn't talk about her personal life like most famous people do. There was no drama or news about her. She was just a woman juggling being a mother and a job in her own way. It's quiet on her social media. Not many people talk to her. That's what makes her unique. She's not after fame. She's just living. April doesn't look like the wide-eyed Candy she was in the early 2000s now that she's 45. She looks more grown up now. Her mood has changed. That's fine, though. She is now a different kind of presence, calm, centered, and sure of herself. She's not a gossip star or a big story, but she's reliable. In a group full of chaos, that kind of calm is very rare. April Bulby showed that she was more than just pretty to look at. She went from being a ditzy supporting character to a recognized lead in a cult favorite superhero show. No one saw her coming. She was the quiet winner. It was a little secret, but she was right where she wanted to be. If you enjoyed this deep look, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hey, click the next video popping up on your screen. Trust us, you won't want to miss it.